Hey there, my Muñaños Gamer. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming. A while ago, I published a video about the early take and review for the presentation or the official unveiling of the Nintendo Switch 2, and there has been a lot of conversations and event happening. Also, unrelated event that might affect the final pricing of the Nintendo Switch. But at this time, I would like to add some more of the expectation that you should have or take in account if you are getting yourself ready to pre-order whenever Nintendo is ready to establish a new pre-orders date. And as a reminder, the pre-orders date are not going live April 9th, as Nintendo responded on the recent tariff imposition by the Trump administration by the United States, which prompted Nintendo on having to delay the pre-orders to assess how these tariffs will affect the final pricing and the impact for revenues for the company. Remember that while Nintendo is not immune to tariff, they try to have diversification in the manufacturing process for the Nintendo Switch, but unfortunately, as much as these attempts try to not have any current and future tariffs impacting, this wasn't the case because Vietnam was one of these countries that Nintendo thought that it might not be on the radar for US tariffs imposition, which, as you already know, it backfired badly. So first, I want to start out, and this is a plug for my blog. This is gg.xyz. Please give it a try for everything gaming news in a written, speaking, or a blog. And I want to have the latest example on the future of Nintendo gaming with Nintendo Switch 2, with the Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk 2077. And there's no doubt that the gaming world is abuzz with the excitement as CD Projekt Red announced the arrival of Cyberpunk 2077 in the Ultimate Edition for the Nintendo Switch 2. And for me, it's a groundbreaking move because, pricing aside, imagine having this big game that nowadays is still kind of the challenge for modern computers or gaming PCs and current generation and past generation of consoles, and you have all these games synthesized and compressed in a single 64 gigabyte gaming device. I think is an incredible technical feat. You can say whatever you want about Nintendo, you can say whatever you want about CD Projekt Red. In the technical speaking, again, I'm not justifying the price with this. I'm just talking about the technical prowess behind the redevelopment of Cyberpunk 2077 for a true portable device. And before I get hit in the comment section, yes, I acknowledge that Steam Deck opened the floodgate for all portable PCs, but forever the OG or one of the OGs on portable gaming, whether you like it or not, it was Nintendo. And having Cyberpunk 2077 dedicated portable device like the Nintendo Switch 2 is just an incredible feat. But what to expect about performance and graphics? The Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk 2077 promises a unique experience tailored to the console's capabilities, running at 40 FPS or frame per second in performance mode while docked. The game showcased the technical prowess of the Nintendo Switch 2, like I said before. While this frame rate may not match coveted 6 frames per second standards, it's a testament to the console's ability to handle graphically demanding titles. And this is because Nvidia finally recognized that tech stack behind the Nintendo Switch 2 is a light version of the DLSS built in the SOC or system of a chip of the Nintendo Switch 2, something that it was already suggested and rumored. It was just a matter of time whether Nintendo, Nvidia, or both acknowledged the fact. One of the standout features of this release is the inclusion of the entire game and the Phantom Liberty expansion on a 64 gigabyte game card. Unlike many other titles which require additional downloads, Cyberpunk 2077 will offer the complete experience straight out of the box. This move is a refreshing change, especially for players who prefer physical copy. Again, big technological feat on having the big game, including its only expansion on a 64 gigabyte of storage, which obviously after installation it might take some more storage. Let's not get disingenuous about this, but having like a minimal, maybe some day one patches, because that will be unavailable in a technical realized standpoint, is still, and I want to insist, is still a technological feat, and GG's for CD Projekt Red and Nintendo for this. While that being said, there was also kind of a lot of debates, discussions, and social media was, at least in the gaming side, was in a buzz about how Nintendo's gonna distribute the Nintendo Switch 2 games. And as you know, Nintendo will have kind of a series of Nintendo Switch games that will be labeled Switch 2 Edition, and it will be kind of an upgrade that, depending on the series of the game, for example, if you're having only the game title or just a regular version, the upgrade will cost $10. And while it is like in the case of Cyberpunk 2077, the Ultimate Edition or Game of the Year Edition or an edition that includes all the expansion and DLC that a game has, probably will cost $20 the upgrade. Now, talking about OG's Nintendo Switch 2 games, it was revealed that the Nintendo Switch 2 games will be set up and programmed and saved on the Nintendo Switch 2 card as a repackaged Switch 1 card. What does this mean? It means that games that even labeled as Nintendo Switch 2 game, they will be installed first as the Nintendo Switch 1 game and internally and via a day one patch or a general patch or an update, it will then be converted to a Nintendo Switch 2 games. What this means for gamers and collectors? Well, this change presents a dilemma because major appeal of physical game is their ability to function independently of online services. If a Switch 2 edition game merely includes a Switch 1 cartridge with a digital upgrade code, it means that years down the line, players may not be able to access the upgraded version if Nintendo servers are no longer operational, which has been the case in some known Wii and Wii U services. And in the end, this could impact the long term value and accessibility of this title. The actual information was found in the own Nintendo's support knowledge base, which added to the fact. While many gamers are not okay with this, Nintendo is not alone in the trend. Many publishers have been moving forward toward digital releases, citing factors such as production costs, environment concerns, and the convenience of digital distributions. And yes, this is another topic for the debate over physical versus digital and will intensify. While digital distribution offers convenience, physical media remains a crucial part of gaming culture and providing ownership, security, and historical preservation. Whether Nintendo Switch 2 edition approach will be widely accepted or met with resistance remains to be seen, but evidently the resistance is building up. And with this kind of a roller coaster week for Nintendo, there are more expectations that you as a gamer need to take in account for before heading to your favorite store and having your Nintendo Switch pre-order. And one of the big things that it was actually one of the main Achilles ankle for the original Nintendo Switch is that Nintendo opted to re-engineer the Joy-Con, except on going for a favorite anti-drifting detail. And Nintendo confirmed it to Nintendo Live that the Joy-Con 2 devices of the Nintendo Switch 2 will not have the so-called Hall effect design. For those who doesn't know, the Hall effect is named after U.S. physicist Edwin Hall. Is when you use magnets and electrical conductors to measure the position of the sticks, which makes them, in theory and practice, immune to drifting. One of the most thing that it was notable for the original Nintendo Switch run is that there were early signs of drifting within the analog stick controller, which Nintendo has been struggling on not recognizing as a problem. And the problem with recognizing it as a problem is that Nintendo as a company needed to act within their warranty agreement for the consumers. While some may look this as a minor thing, I know there for a fact that there are gamers that love reaching achievement. In the case of PlayStation 2 trophies or Xbox achievement, unfortunately, Nintendo opted for not having like an internal achievement system, so there's not gonna be like gold, platinum, or bronze, silver, whatever you want to call achievement. While it's interesting because The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild, both get a Switch 2 edition, and there's the new app called the Zelda Notes, which will be a part of the Nintendo app, and ironically, it will have its own achievement list. So, in my perspective, I can assume that game developers can have their own achievement within their own game's ecosystem. And for example, like in the case of Destiny 2, Destiny has its own mobile app for Android and iOS, and maybe publishers and game development can have users follow up their achievement internally, which in or maybe in the flip side, it could be like a key element for engagement for gamers, not specifically having Nintendo to be attached to it, but I think that it might have a good reason for gaming publisher developers having like a new challenge on having gamers engage in the ecosystem of your game. And lastly, but I think that is one important expectation, is that the original Nintendo Switch will not be phased out, at least for now. This time, the Washington Post inquiry Nintendo of America President Bowser, and they asked about how the original Nintendo Switch will go following the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. And here's the quote for Doug Bowser. What I will say is that we will continue to observe consumers and how they engage and enter into the platform at various levels to try to understand and what the future may look like. Here's the point. We had an installed base for the Switch of 150 million plus units. We'll probably announce more on May 8th when we have our next earning calls. We want to keep those players engaged. None of them may be ready to jump to Switch 2. Now, in context of history, in average, Nintendo has maintained support for this previous console for a few years after launching a new system, and the average go between 2 to 3 years. And let's take in context past scenarios. From Nintendo 64 to GameCube at 2001, Nintendo 64 saw a gradual decline in support, which last first party games released in 2002. From the GameCube to Wii at 2006, the GameCube support continued for a few years with some late release like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess going back to 2006, and the Wii version of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess was actually one of the first Wii offering. And from Wii to Wii U at 2012, the Wii remained relevant for a while, especially with strong casual audience, but first party support slowed down by after 2013. And finally, from the Wii U to the Switch, this is the weakest link of the chain because the Wii U has a short lifespan and support faded quickly after the Switch success, which this varied a lot in the negative size of the average. So yeah, it's between 2 to 3 years that Nintendo has been accustomed us to see the support from previous generation becoming legacy and then going full throttle with the current generation. And I foresee that this will be the same thing with Switch 1 and Switch 2. Despite all that, Nintendo confirmed that the Nintendo Switch 1 will continue to receive support as long as there's a demand. With this, I will suggest that between 2025 to 2026, Nintendo will likely continue releasing some new titles for Switch 1, similar to how supported the 3DS after the Switch launch. Maybe between a year or 2 years later, talking about 2027 or 2028, support may gradually decline with fewer first classic or first party releases. And beyond that, the Switch One could still receive third-party games, but by this time, will likely Nintendo's already move on for the Nintendo Switch 2. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about all this expectation that you should have in account when pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch 2? Will this serve as a deterrent? Will you wait and see, or you're just laser focused on landing a pre-order? Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell for everything gaming news, retro gaming, walkthroughs, everything gaming. This was Jesus from Jesus Gaming, health and success, and happy gaming.